Thank you.
Okay, so if you could share your screen.
Okay. Able to see that?
Yeah, I can see.
So, what do you want?
Okay, so what is
You
that?
want to enter?
Yeah.
Okay. Or should I search for Google?
Yeah, Google, search Google. Okay, so search for edelivery.oracle.com. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. For the first one.
First one?
Huh. Sign in. Okay. Did you create your account?
Yeah, I did it.
It'll take some time to activate, I believe. Yeah. Okay.
Yep,
You got
got
it
it.
already. Yeah. So what you do is that for search for Hyperion planning. Hyperion, Hyperion. Hyperion space planning. You have planning plus. Yeah. Click on that. Yeah. Yeah.
Is this the one?
That's the one. Yeah. From the
Okay.
select platform, from a drop down, you select Microsoft Windows 64-bit x64. Yeah. Click select. Click on continue.
Where is it?
The one last one, the below
Okay,
one. Continue.
yeah.
Yeah. Expand that once you are able to see that under Hyperion Enterprise Performance Management 11124 on your
Mm-hmm.
left hand side.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the left hand side. Yeah. Expand that.
Yeah.
Expand. You're able to expand, right? You can. Expand it. Okay, so
Okay.
you're getting all the things. So come down. Okay, uncheck that identity management. We don't need an identity management. Yeah, uncheck that.
Where is that?
The below last one,
Okay.
last but one.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, we don't need identity management. Okay, click continue.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi. I have read the accept. Click on continue. Yeah, download. Okay, allow the pop-up blocker. Okay, click OK. Click allow once. It would download one. Download the installer once. 1 second. You download.
Hello?
Hmm. I agree. Click next.
So should I select any
Yeah, select the downloads or anything. Yeah. Click
on the
OK.
download itself? On the documents or downloads?
Anything is okay.
Okay.
Yeah, allow access.
Allow access. Close it.
Yeah,
Okay.
close. Okay, now that would start downloading. Go to that software.
Okay.
So it'll take time. So it'll keep on downloading. Yeah. So it'll download it.
Yeah.
So once it downloads.
17 GB itself. So yeah. Okay.
Okay. So once it downloads, I mean, apart from this, you should also download the Oracle database as well. The Oracle database is, the version is 12C. You have to download even that. Even that is of, I think, 2 GB of software. When you go to that software search,
Okay.
go to that search for the software, that e-delivery dot, the screen, the software that you have searched in e-delivery.oracle.com.
Almost okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So close this. Okay.
Shall I close this one?
Ah.
Okay.
Okay. The software getting downloaded, no?
Shall I go back?
Software is getting downloaded, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
So go back.
Should I again go to Gmail? Sorry. Yeah. Google
Yeah.
and then do it.
Yeah.
This.
1 second. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second.
Yeah.
Oracle is Oracle database. 12C, you will have something called. Okay, 1 second. 1 second. Oracle database enterprise edition 12C RDBMS. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Continue. Expand it. Okay, 1 second. Oracle database 2 GB. Okay. You keep the first two and uncheck the remaining thing. First two. The second one also you check it. Yeah. Yeah. Then you continue. Okay. So once that is over, you can also download this. Okay. So once that Hyperion is over, then you can do this.
Right. Right. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Right.
Okay. So then we'll talk about how to do the installation.
Okay. Once it gets downloaded, then we'll talk on that or what?
Yeah. No, it will take some time for you to download.
Yeah.
Once that is done, it will take a lot of time. Yeah. Okay. So I'll take time. So once that is done, then we'll talk about.
Installation again.
Yeah. Yeah. That we'll do it tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So okay.
You will take back the.
Yeah, it'll take time. Yeah. So Vijay, we will see the installation in your system today, or what do you say?
ఇన్స్టాలేషన్ మీరు డిఫరెంట్గా చెప్పారు ఇంతకు ముందు. అది నేను డౌన్లోడ్ చేశాను సార్. డౌన్లోడ్ చేసిన తర్వాత అది ఎలా సెటప్ చేయాలో నాకు తెలియట్లేదు. మీరు అన్నీ ఉన్నాయి.
Can you share your screen and show us? I'll tell you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, 1 second.
Can you give the permissions, please?
Yeah, I have given. Yeah. Yeah, Vijay, can you share your screen?
చేస్తున్నాను సార్, ఇది డౌన్లోడ్ చేస్తున్నాను కోటింగ్ మీటింగ్, లేదంటే స్క్రీన్ యాక్సెప్ట్ చేయట్లేదు.
ఓకే.
అయిపోవచ్చింది ల్యాప్టాప్.
Yeah, I can see your screen. Yeah.
హలో,
Vijay.
యాక్సెస్ వచ్చిందా నా స్క్రీన్?
I can see. Yeah.
ఓకే. ఈసారి మీరు డౌన్లోడ్ చేసిన ఫైల్, చెప్పిన ఫైల్స్
Mm-hmm.
ఎక్స్ట్రాక్ట్ చేస్తే ఇలా వచ్చాయన్నమాట.
Mm-hmm.
ఇదంతా ఎక్స్ట్రాక్ట్ చేసిన తర్వాత వచ్చిన ఫైల్స్ ఇవన్నీ.
Okay.
తర్వాత VMware ఉంది. ఇందులో చూస్తే మన ఇన్స్టాల్ చేసారు ఒరాకిల్ ఎస్బేస్ స్టూడియో, ఒరాకిల్ హైపీరియన్ ఎస్బేస్ క్లయింట్, హైపీరియన్ ఎస్బేస్ అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్ సర్వీసెస్.
Mm-hmm.
కానీ VMware లోకి ఎలా యాక్సెస్ చేయాలో నాకు తెలియట్లేదు.
ఇది నీ లోకల్ సిస్టమ్గా?
ఇది లోకల్ సిస్టమ్ మొత్తం.
VMwareలో ఏం వేస్తారు మీరు సాఫ్ట్వేర్? VMwareలో మళ్ళీ ఇన్స్టాల్ చేయాలి. యూ హావ్ టు ఇన్స్టాల్ ఇట్ ఇన్ VMware.
వర్క్ స్టేషన్ 12 Pro.
ఓకే, ఓపెన్.
ఆల్రెడీ HFM 113 ఉంది. విండోస్ సర్వర్ 2012 ఉంది.
ఓకే.
ఈ విండోస్ సర్వర్ 2012 అనే ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్ లో 1124 హైపీరియన్ ఫైనాన్షియల్ మేనేజ్మెంట్ వర్షన్ ఉంది ఇందులో. దీనికి నేనేమంటానంటే దీనికే యాడ్ చేస్తే సరిపోతుంది కదా ఇక్కడ నుంచి.
అవును అయిపోతుంది.
ఇక్కడ నుంచి ఎలా యాడ్ చేయాలో
ఏది యాడ్ చేస్తున్నారు మీరు?
ఎస్బేస్ దీనికి యాడ్ చేసుకుంటే సరిపోతుంది కదా అని.
అదే ఎస్బేస్ ఇన్స్టాల్ చేశారా?
చూపించాను కదా సార్ మీకు ఇప్పుడు.
అది సర్వర్ ఎక్కడ ఉంది అని, సర్వర్ ఎక్కడ ఇన్స్టాల్ చేశారు? ఎస్బీఎస్ సర్వర్ లేదు కదా, సర్వీసెస్. మీరు services.mscకి వెళ్ళండి.
ఇప్పుడు సర్వీసెస్కి వెళ్ళమంటారా?
services.mscకి వెళ్ళండి ఒకసారి.
VMware లోనా నార్మల్గా?
VMware లో ఇన్స్టాల్ చేయాలి మనం ఇది. సో మనం ఏం చేయాలంటే వీ హావ్ టు ఇన్స్టాల్ ఇట్ ఇన్ VMware. మీరు ఎక్కడ
ఇన్స్టాల్ అయినది కదా సార్, ఆల్రెడీ అయినది కదా.
దాంట్లో ఇన్స్టాల్ చేద్దామంటే సర్వర్లో విండోస్ 2012 సర్వర్ ఉందిగా,
లాగిన్ అవ్వమంటారా? లేదా
లాగిన్ అవ్వండి. విండోస్ 2012 సర్వర్ దాంట్లో సాఫ్ట్వేర్ ఉంది. దీంట్లో
లాగిన్ అయ్యేదా?
5.7 GB ఉందా?
నేను మార్చుకోవాలంటే మార్చుకుంటారా?
ఎంత ర్యామ్ ఇది?
16 GB ఉంది సార్.
16 GB మార్చుకోవాలి మరి. సరే మార్చండి అది.
ఎంత పెట్టుకుంటారు సార్?
810 పెట్టండి. 8 చాలు. యా చాలు, దట్ షుడ్ బి ఫైన్. యా
ఓకే,
దట్ షుడ్ బి ఫైన్. యా That should be fine. 10 GB. That's all.
కరెక్ట్గా ఉందా?
Correct on. It's okay. Yeah. Correct. It's okay. Correct.
10 to 40 వస్తుంది.
Ah,
సరేలే, పర్లేదు, ఏముంది. ఓకేనా సార్ ఇప్పుడు?
power. Yeah. Power on this also.
ఎలా మినిమం చేయగలట్లేదు.
ఏం చేస్తారు ఇప్పుడు దీన్ని?
లాగిన్ అవుతున్నాను సార్. లాగిన్ అవుతున్నాను. విఎం వేరేంటండి, హెడ్ ఎక్ సార్.
అవును, స్లో ఉంటాయి.
ఎంత ర్యామ్ ఇచ్చినా ఎంతైనా అవుతాయి.
అంతే ఇట్స్ ఓకే. కామెంట్లోకి వెళ్ళండి.
సార్ ఎందులో కలమంటారు సార్?
మీ సాఫ్ట్వేర్ ఎక్కడ ఉంది దీంట్లో ఇన్స్టాల్ చేద్దాం హైపీరియన్.
సాఫ్ట్వేర్ మన లోకల్ సిస్టమ్ ఉంది కదా.
లోకల్ సిస్టంలో ఉందా? దీంట్లో కాపీ చేసుకోవాలి. మరి దీంట్లో లేదా సాఫ్ట్వేర్?
ఇందులో కాపీ అంటే అక్కడి నుంచి ఇక్కడికి కాపీ చేయాలి.
కాపీ చేయాలి, అవును
సార్. నేను అడుగు అది ఇక్కడ కాపీ చేసి ఆ సర్వీసెస్ స్టార్ట్ చేస్తే సరిపోతుందా?
అది కాపీ చేసిన తర్వాత ఇన్స్టాల్ చేయాలి ఇక్కడ.
ఇన్స్టాల్ చేస్తాను. ఇన్స్టాల్ చేసిన తర్వాత
సర్వీసెస్ స్టార్ట్ చేసి వర్క్ చేస్తే అయిపోద్ది.
కానీ అంత స్పేస్ ఉంటుంది అంటారా అంటే జీబీ స్పేస్ దీనికి ఇక్కడ?
అది చూడండి ఒకసారి, షీట్ డ్రైవ్లో ఎంత ఉందన్నది స్పేస్.
$45.6 GB ఉంది.
సరిపోతుంది.
సరిపోతుంది కదా?
సరిపోతుంది. దీనిలో సాఫ్ట్వేర్ లేదా? దీనిలో ఉండాలి కదా సాఫ్ట్వేర్.
మన లోకల్ సిస్టమ్ ఉంది సార్.
మరి
ఏ సాఫ్ట్వేర్ మీరు చెప్పేది? ఎస్బేస్ సాఫ్ట్వేరా?
హైపీరియన్ మీరు దీంట్లో ఎలా ఇన్స్టాల్ చేశారని. హెచ్ఎఫ్ఎం
ఆయన ఇన్స్టాల్ చేశాడు. మన లోకల్ సిస్టమ్ ఉంది కదా. ఇప్పుడు నేను నా డెస్క్టాప్ వస్తున్నాను. ఇది నా లోకల్ సిస్టమ్. ఇది లోకల్ సిస్టమ్ లో ఇక్కడ ఇన్స్టాల్ చేసుకున్నాను నేను. ఈ డ్రైవ్లో హెచ్ఎఫ్ఎం డేటా పార్ట్ 1 పార్ట్ 2
సరే నో ఇష్యూస్.
సార్ ఇక్కడ ఇదే సార్ 11124 ఇది ఈ ఫైల్. ఇక్కడ నుంచి నేను యాక్సెస్ చేస్తున్నాను, దీన్ని సెలెక్ట్ చేసుకున్నాను అక్కడికి. మన లోకల్ సిస్టమ్ లో చేసుకున్నాను, డైరెక్ట్ గా దానికి లింక్అప్ చేసుకున్నాను VMware. అలానే Essbase కూడా ఇక్కడి నుంచి అక్కడికి తీసుకుంటే సరిపోద్దు కదా నా ఆలోచన.
ఇది మీరు ఓపెన్ చేసింది VMware ఫైల్ విజయ్. సో దిస్ ఈజ్ విండోస్ 2012 VMware మీరు ఓపెన్ చేశారు. ఆ VMware లోకి వెళ్ళండి ఒకసారి. అది సాఫ్ట్వేర్ కాదు, ఒకసారి మీరు VMware లోకి వెళ్ళండి. అది VMware లోకి వెళ్ళండి ఒకసారి. VMware లోకి వెళ్ళండి. సి డ్రైవ్ లోకి వెళ్ళండి. సిలోకి వెళ్ళండి. ఒకసారి ఆగండి.
ఇక్కడ ఉన్నది Essbase.
డబుల్ క్లిక్ చేయండి ఒకసారి. బ్యాక్ వెళ్ళండి ఒకసారి. అది కన్సోల్, మీరు ఇది కాదు. దట్ ఈస్ నాట్ వాట్ యూ హావ్ టు డూ. బ్యాక్ సాఫ్ట్వేర్ లేదండి, బ్యాక్ వెళ్ళండి. మా వాళ్ళు నెట్వర్క్ డ్రైవ్ చేసినట్టున్నాడు. ఓకే 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 సాఫ్ట్వేర్లోకి వెళ్ళండి. అది ఓకే షేడ్. ఓకే 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 అర్థండి. అది సాఫ్ట్వేర్ లేండి. ఒరాకిల్ మిడిల్వేర్లోకి వెళ్తే ఓకే. సో అది సాఫ్ట్వేర్, అది దాంట్లో ఇన్స్టాల్ చేశారు. దిస్ ఇస్ ఫర్ కాన్ఫిగర్డ్. ఓకే, డోంట్ వరీ, మీరు బయటకు వచ్చండి. విల్ స్టార్ట్ ది క్లాస్.
సో ఇప్పుడు ఇది అవుతుందా, వర్క్ అవుతుందా?
అది వర్క్ అవ్వదు. మేబీ HFM వర్క్ అవుతుందేమో కానీ Essbase ప్లానింగ్ వర్క్ అవ్వదు. సో Essbase ప్లానింగ్ ఇన్స్టాల్ చేయాలి మళ్ళీ. మీరు సాఫ్ట్వేర్ అది అట్లీస్ట్ మీరు డ్రైవ్ అన్న మ్యాప్ చేస్తారు.
ఇది Essbase సాఫ్ట్వేర్ కదా,
అది క్లయింట్ రెడీ. It is a client. Okay. You have to understand the difference between the client and a server. So what you have is only client without a server.
Okay. But server install చేయాలైతే
you should install చేసిన తర్వాత then you install client and then you have to work on it. ఆ లాస్ట్ లో కింద షేడ్ ఫోల్డర్ ఉందా, క్లిక్ చేయండి ఒకసారి. the last one షేడ్ ఫోల్డర్ వస్తుంది మీరు లెఫ్ట్ హ్యాండ్ సైడ్, కంప్లీట్ లెఫ్ట్ హ్యాండ్ సైడ్. ఓకే, సో ఇది కూడా షేడ్ డ్రైవ్. నెట్వర్క్లోకి వెళ్ళండి, దాని కిందది. ఓకే, క్లిక్. ఓకే, నెట్వర్క్. మీ లోకల్ సిస్టమ్ నెట్వర్క్ డ్రైవ్ చేయొచ్చా? ఓకే, రైట్ క్లిక్ అండ్ సే యాడ్ నెట్వర్క్ అని. సరే, విల్ డూ ఇట్ లేటర్ ఆర్ ఎల్స్ యూ కాపీ ద సాఫ్ట్వేర్ ఫ్రమ్ దేర్ టు హియర్. తర్వాత చేద్దామండి. ఇది మినిమైజ్ చేయండి ఒకసారి, నేను చెప్తాను. మినిమైజ్ చేయండి, ఇది VMware మినిమైజ్ చేయండి. మీ సాఫ్ట్వేర్లోకి వెళ్ళండి, ఎక్కడ కాపీ చేశారో ఇందాక ఎక్స్ట్రాక్ట్ చేశారు కదా. సాఫ్ట్వేర్ ఎక్కడ ఎక్స్ట్రాక్ట్ చేశారు మీరు? కిందకి రండి, జిప్ ఫైల్స్ తీసుకోండి. అన్ని జిప్ ఫైల్స్ కాపీ చేసుకోండి. మొత్తాన్ని కాపీ చేయండి.
కాపీ చేయమంటారా?
కాపీ చేయండి. VMwareలో పేస్ట్ చేయండి. సి డ్రైవ్లోకి రండి. ఒక ఫోల్డర్ క్రియేట్ చేయండి. ఇక్కడ రైట్ క్లిక్, న్యూ ఫోల్డర్, EPM అని పెట్టండి. EPM దీంట్లో పేస్ట్ చేయండి. ఇక్కడ ఎక్స్ట్రాక్ట్ చేసి ఇక్కడ ఇన్స్టాల్ చేయండి. దట్ విల్ టెల్ యూ.
ఓకే, ఇందులో ఇది అన్ఇన్స్టాల్ చేయమంటారా?
ఏమని ఇన్స్టాల్ చేయొద్దు, అలా ఉంచండి.
ఇంతకుముందు చూసాం కదా మనం ఇక్కడ మిడిల్ వేర్ అని,
అది అక్కడ ఇన్స్టాల్ అయింది. దాంట్లో ఆ పాత్రలోనే ఇన్స్టాల్ చేద్దాం. డోంట్ వరీ.
సో దాన్ని ఏం చేయొద్దంటారా?
దాన్ని ఏం చేయదు, దీన్ని డోంట్ డూ ఎనీథింగ్. ఇది ఎక్స్ట్రాక్ట్ చేసిన తర్వాత, ఇన్స్టాల్ చేసిన తర్వాత అదే సేమ్ పాత్రలో ఇన్స్టాల్ చేద్దాం, అయిపోతుంది.
ఓకే 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 ఓకే. సరే సరే ఓకే. మీరు కంటిన్యూ చేస్తారా?
షూర్ కెన్.
ఓకే, ఇది టైం పడేలా ఉంది.
It will take time. So any doubts you have till now? What we have covered yesterday, day before yesterday, in the last class? What did we see in my last class? So what is that we have covered in the last class?
Last class.
So we have created an application. We have once we have identified the business requirement, we have understood the architecture of Essbase. So I said Essbase is a 3-tier architecture. You have a client tier, you have a middle tier, and you have a database tier. So in the client tier, we would be starting the services. And what are the services that we start to work on Essbase?
Oracle Process Manager.
Okay, so we start this Oracle Process Manager OHS instance. OHS is nothing but HTTP server, which runs on a port 19,000. So we also start our foundation services.
ఇక్కడ స్పెసిఫిక్ ఆర్డర్ ఉందా సార్? ఆర్డర్ ఏమైనా ఫాలో అవ్వాలా?
No, there is no order. No, there is no order of starting the services in this version. In previous versions, there was an order in version 9, but here there is no order of starting the services. You can start in any order. So we have started Oracle Process Manager OHS instance. We have started the foundation services. We started the Essbase server, and then we have started the Hyperion administration services, Java web applications. So these are the services that we start before I log into the Essbase console. So all the services are started. Okay. And you also know the log file where the services, the path where it gets logged. So I would log into the console. I go to start all programs. I already made a shortcut, I believe, here. Okay. Okay, username is admin. Password is password. So I expand my Essbase server here. Okay, so I have created an application called BigCorp. So this is application is not started, so I start the application. It started. Okay, and I have created a dimension called year total, under which I have created Q1 to Q4, and we also talked about the different consolidation properties in Essbase. Okay, so any doubts you have till now? We also talked about what is alias. We also said that we would be loading the data at level 0, and the data gets aggregated to my parent based on the consolidation properties. So any doubts you have till now, Raghav or Vijay?
No.
Yeah.
No, Vijay.
Great. Okay. So what we'll be doing today is that we'll be talking about the data storage properties, how Essbase stores the data. I mean, we know that Essbase stores the data in the form of a block, and the block is created for each and every unique combination of a sparse dimension number. I take an Excel sheet here. Okay, so these are the members that I've created from Jan to December. and assume that we also have a member called sales, and this is my block. Okay, and I would be loading the data for sales for the month of Jan. I would say my sales is $150. Okay, so Essbase will, okay, so this is called a cell, and each cell will occupy 8 bytes of memory. That's what we have said, right, in my previous classes. So when you load the data into this combination, so what Essbase will do is that it will store that value in the cell. Getting it? So it is storing that value in the cell. So how does Essbase knows that when you load some data into that particular cell, how does Essbase knows that it has to store that value in the cell? It depends upon your storage properties. So in Essbase, we have 6 storage properties. Okay, so first one is called store data. Second one is called dynamic calc. Third one is called dynamic calc and store. Fourth one is called shared member. Fifth one is called never share. Sixth one is called label only. Okay, so these are the 6 storage properties in Essbase, and depending on it, Essbase would know that whether it has to store that value in that particular cell or what it has to do. Okay, so where do I check that? When you select any member, I right click, go to edit member properties. There is something called data storage here. When you drop down, so these are all the data storage properties that we have in Essbase. So this is what we are talking about, and by default it is store data. So in BSO we have 6 storage properties, but coming to ASO, aggregate storage properties, we only have 4 storage properties: dynamic calc and dynamic calc and store. These 2 storage properties are not there in ASO, and the rest of the storage properties are there, which means that coming to ASO we have 4, and coming to BSO we have 6 storage properties. And by default it is store data, which means that whenever you load the data into the Essbase, Essbase will store that particular cell in that combination. So Essbase will store that value in that cell depending upon the storage property, and by default it is store data. And when you load the data, Essbase will store that value, and it will occupy 8 bytes of memory. So the storage property is called dynamic calc. The definition of dynamic calc is that the dynamic calc will not store the value, but however when you retrieve the value in the reports, you would get that value, but it would not store the value in the particular cell. So which means that when I change the data storage property, I go to edit member properties and change the data storage property from store data to dynamic calc. So which means that okay, if it have been stored data, it will add that all the values, and it will put that value in quarter 1, and it will store that value in the cell. But however, I'm changing the data storage property from store data to dynamic calc. So Essbase will not store that value in that particular cell, but however, when you retrieve that value or when you retrieve the report and see the value in the report, then only the value is dynamically calculated and it will show the value in the report, but never ever it will store that value in that particular cell. So that is what is called dynamic calc. So when you tag any member as dynamic calc, the advantage that we get is that it would save my 8 bytes of memory. So if it is saving 8 bytes of memory, the block size is coming down. So whenever the block size comes down, it is easy for it is very fast to do the calculations. So the amount of time to calculate your database, it will not take much time when you tag any member as dynamic calc. So these are the advantages of dynamic calc. But the disadvantage of dynamic calc is that when the end user retrieves the report, it would take some time for the end user to show that value in the report, or else the report performance would slow down. The reason being that if there are a lot of dynamically calculated values, all the values has to get calculated and the value has to be shown to the end user in the report. So the end user, he might complain that the report is very slow. So that is the only disadvantage of dynamic calc, but you have a lot of advantage of dynamic calc. So generally the condition for dynamic calc, so condition is that we cannot tag a dynamic calc to a level 0 member unless until we have a associated with it. Okay, so which means that I cannot tag a level 0, which means that I cannot tag a Jan as dynamic calc, or I cannot tag Feb as dynamic calc, because these are my level 0 members. So when can I tag a level 0 as a dynamic calc? Only when you have a formula that you have written to a level 0 member, only then I can tag that member as dynamic calc. But unless until you do not do that, you cannot tag a level 0 member as dynamic calc. So generally what we do in the projects also is that all my parent level members, we would tag that as dynamic calc. Like for example, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4 of my time dimension of within my time dimension, all my upper level members would go as a dynamic calc. So we okay, so this is what we do. Okay, so I cannot tag a level 0 member, so I verify it and save it. But if you try to tag a level 0 member as dynamic calc and try to verify it, it will throw me an error stating that level 0 dynamic calc members must have a formula associated with them. So a level 0 member cannot be a dynamic calc. Okay, so this is called a dynamic calc. And the next point is called dynamic calc and store. So it acts as dynamic calc only, but the difference between dynamic calc and store is that when I put this as dynamic calc and store, so what Essbase would do is that it will not store the value for the first time, but whenever a user retrieves the report, then the value is dynamically calculated for him, and then it would store that value in that particular cell within that block. So from the next user, or for the next whenever the next user retrieves the same report, then the value is not dynamically calculated, the value is already stored in that particular cell, so it is not calculated. Whereas dynamic calc, if there are 100 users, for each user it is dynamically calculated. For dynamic calc and store, it's only for the first user the value is dynamically calculated, and for second time the value is getting stored in that particular cell. But coming to a situation whether we want to tag it as dynamic calc or dynamic calc and store, it is always better that we tag the member as dynamic calc and not dynamic calc and store. Okay, same advantages and same disadvantages for same advantages and same disadvantages as we have seen it for dynamic calc. Okay, but in the projects or in the real-time world, we would tag all the upper level members of a dense dimension member as dynamic calc. Not it is it is recommended that we do not tag a dynamic calc to a sparse dimension member, because the performance would badly impact it. You can tag a dynamic calc to sparse dimension members also, but it is not recommended that you tag a dynamic calc to a sparse dimension member, because the performance is badly affected. So why do you think, or do you can you think of any reasons why we cannot tag a sparse dimension number as dynamic calc? Any reason that you can think of?
No, I'm not able to get it.
Okay, you understood dynamic calc, right? What it does?
Yeah, it calculates.
It calculates. Okay, it calculates on the fly, and it will the value is shown to the end user in the report. Okay, it is always so what I'm saying is that it is always recommended that you tag a dynamic calc to a dense dimension member and not to a sparse dimension member. The reason being that now say for example, I have a dimension called region. Under region I have a members called header bed. Under header bed I have h1, h2 and h3. Okay, so how many blocks would get created in this example? Region being a sparse dimension member, how many blocks would get created? How is a block created? Block is created for each and every unique combination of a sparse dimension number, correct? So in this situation, 4 blocks would get created, correct? For Hyderabad a block, for H1 a block, H2 a block, and H3 a block, correct? Okay, 4 blocks, correct? So it creates a block. So if you want to imagine it, so this is how. So it creates a block here, okay? And what the block would have, it will have your dense dimension number, correct? Jan, Feb, March, Q1, okay? And you have something called sales. Okay, sales for the month of for H1 is for the month of Jan, it is say for example 150. So in the same way, the block would get created for H2 and H3. Okay, so the data for now say for example this is 100 and say for example this is 50 here. Okay, so what is the value? So all the consolidation properties is plus, correct? Okay, so what is the value of, so it also creates a block for Hyderabad. So what would be the value of the block in Hyderabad? There is a block for Hyderabad, correct? So what would be the value of sales for Hyderabad for the month of Jan?
So the totals of,
I'm sorry?
the totals of
yeah, the totals of this, correct?
the totals of sales of H1, H2, yeah.
Okay, so I'm not loading the data here, but Essbase will automatically create this block because this is a parent level block. So H1 plus H2 plus H3, all this would get added up and it goes to Hyderabad. So I get a value called this 150 plus 100 plus 50. You get the value as 300 and this block is created, correct? Correct, no?
Yeah.
Okay. But if I tag this Hyderabad as dynamic calc, what would happen? So this block doesn't exist at all, correct? Clear? So always this block is created on the fly, correct? If this is dynamic calc, this cell is dynamically calculated. If this is dynamic calc, the block is dynamically calculated. Getting it?
So how come it is not created at all?
This is dynamic calc, right?
Yeah. Okay.
When it is dynamic calc, what does it mean? It means that okay, so when this is dynamic calc, now say for example Q1 is dynamic calc.
Okay.
Okay, so what does it mean? Now I have value in Jan as 50, Feb as 50, March as 50. So what is the value here? It is 150.
So when we
Yep.
execute it, then it will become 150.
Yeah, when you execute it will become 150, correct? And this cell is,
Yeah.
the value is getting, okay, the value is not stored here, but when you execute it, when the end user would see that 150 there. Yeah, it will display to the end user as 150, but is it getting stored in the cell within the block? No, correct?
No.
Yeah, so in the same way, in the same way, if you put Hyderabad as dynamic calc, what does it mean? It means that this block would never exist. It will only retrieve it only when the end user sees.
Okay.
It will display the block. So it will, for the end user, the whole this has to get calculated, and the whole for Jan, Feb, March, April, the complete block has to shown to the end user. So it will take a lot of time to calculate everything and show that value to the end user. Getting it? So that is the reason it will take a lot of time for end user to retrieve that report. Okay, if you put any member as dynamic calc for a sparse dimension member, it will take a lot of time to calculate the whole block and show the block to the end user, because the block is not getting stored in the Essbase. So it has to dynamically the whole block has to get calculated. If the block is so big, say for example, the block is so big like this, and the block is dynamical, so it'll take a lot of time, right?
Yeah. Okay.
That is the reason it is always recommended not to tag a sparse dimensional member as dynamic calc. The reason being that it will take lots and lots of time for the report to be shown to the end user. Clear, no? So it is here is only a particular cell, but here is a complete block.
Yeah,
Got it, no? So it's always recommended that we do not tag a sparse dimensional member as dynamic calc, but it is always recommended all your upper level members of your dense dimensional member can go as dynamic calc. That is dynamic calc. Clear? Understood?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll talk about shade member. We'll take a definition. We'll try to understand what is the definition of a shade member, and we'll try to understand what it does. So shade member, as a definition, it says the data value of the okay, so this is the definition of a shade member. It says the data value of the shade member comes from a different member having the same name. This is a definition of shade member. We'll take an example and we'll try to understand what it is. Now say for example, I have a dimension called account, okay, under which I have something called gross margin, under which I have something called net sales, under which I have something called gross sales, under which I have something called units. I have price, I have discounts, gross sales, discount, percentage. Okay, so this is plus, this is minus. Okay, so this is plus. Okay, so this is multiplication. So this is plus, this is 2. Okay, this is net sales. Okay, this is tilde property. Okay, so this is how I have created my outline. Now do you think this outline is correct, or do you see any errors in this outline?
This gross sales is duplicated.
Yeah, okay, so very good. Okay, so this gross sales is duplicated. So you have gross sales here, you have a gross sales here. Okay, so but what Essbase will not allow duplicate names, correct? Essbase will not allow duplicate names. That's what we said. But however, if I load the data, I say my units is 10. I'm loading the data at my level 0. My price is 100. So what would be your gross sales? It is units into price is 1000 here, correct? Okay. I would like to offer some discounts on my gross sales. So that is the reason I have created a member called discounts here, under which if you create a same name called gross sales, Essbase will throw you an error. But however, what I would like to do is that I would like to use the value whatever is there in my gross sales, because I want to offer some discounts on my gross sales. So then what you do is that you give a same name as this and tag this member as shade member. So whenever you tag this member as shade member, Essbase will point out to your original value. It will not store the value, but it is a pointer to your original value. It will see the value what is there in my original member. And when you say discount percentage is 0.5, okay, 0.5 on what? On my gross sales, and this gross sales is a shade member. It will point to your original member and it will calculate my discount percentage on my 1000. So it will calculate it and it will put 50 here. Okay, so 1000, so this got calculated, so gross sales minus discount, it is 1000 minus 50, you get your net sales is 950 here. The consolidation property is plus here, the same value will go to my parent here as 950. So this is tilde here, the value will not go to the parent, and the value will stop here itself. So this is my shade member. So the definition says the data value associated with the shade member comes from a different member having the same name. So this is my shade member, and it will point out to your original value and it will take the value. So whenever you want to use the value to calculate or to do some other other things, then we give a same name and put it as shade member. Now here we have used gross sales to calculate my discounts. Now say for example, say you have something called labor, and to calculate my labor, I also want to use gross sales. So give a same name called gross sales, tag it as shade member. Now say for example you have labor rate. Okay, so labor rate outside is 0.7. 0.77 on what? On my gross sales, which is a shade member, which is 1000 here. It will put 70 here. Getting it? Understood?
Yeah, got it.
Okay. Okay, so that's why why do we use a shade member? Shade member is used if you want to use the value to calculate a different thing, then we give a same name and tag it as a shade member. So in this case, I'm using gross sales to calculate my discounts, as well as I'm using gross sales to calculate my labor. To give a same name and tag it as a shade member, so it will point out to your original value. So it will not store the value here, but it will turn it is pointing to your original value and picking up the value from there. Okay, it is looking at that original value. So you have some conditions for the shade member. First condition is that okay, so these are the okay. So these are the conditions of the shade member. It says the shade member cannot have children below it. So this is my shade member. So under my shade member, I cannot have children. The original member can have children, but not the shade member. The next point it says the original member and the shade member should be in the same dimension. So this is my original member, which is gross sales, and this is my gross sales, which is a shade member. So both of them are in my accounts dimension. I cannot have this gross sales in accounts and I create some other dimension and put that as gross sales and make it shade. So both has to be in the same dimension.
సార్ చిన్న డౌట్,
Huh.
షేర్డ్ మెంబరు ఇప్పుడు మీరు అన్నారు కదా అక్కడ అది చిల్డ్రన్స్, దానికి చిల్డ్రన్స్ ఇందులో ఈ నెక్స్ట్ మెంబర్ కి చిల్డ్రన్స్ లేవు. కెనాట్ షేర్డ్ మెంబర్ కెనాట్ హ్యావ్ ద చిల్డ్రన్ బిలో ఇట్. సో ఈ వేరియేషన్ లైవ్ ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ లో మనకు ఆ షేర్డ్ మెంబర్ కి షేర్డ్ మెంబర్స్ కి ఏమైనా డిఫరెన్స్ కనిపిస్తుందా?
I don't get what you mean.
అంటే చూడంగానే ఐడెంటిఫై చేయడానికి ఇది షేర్డ్ మెంబరు, యాక్చువల్ షేర్డ్ మెంబర్ మనం చూడంగానే ఐడెంటిఫై చేయడానికి.
Yeah, we can identify it.
మార్క్ ఏదైనా ఉంటుందా అని అడుగుతున్నాను.
ఉంటుంది. I'll tell you that. Okay. So that is the second point. So the third point it says we cannot have formulas to the shade. The original members we can write a formula, but not to a shade member. We cannot write, because all your all the properties are getting inherited from my original member. Okay, so the original member can have a formula, but not the shade member. Okay, the original member has to be created first, only then we can create a shade member. Okay, so when you're creating a dimension, this is my original member and this is my shade member. So I cannot put this as my shared member and this is my original member. See, the original member has to be created first. Only then I can create a shared member. So once you have your original member, I can have a number of shared members. I can be created within the same dimension. Okay, so the original member has to be created first. Only then we can create a shared member. Okay, so I cannot make this as shade and this is my original member. The original member has to be created first. Only then I can create a shade member. The last point it says the original member and the shade member cannot be under the same parent. So which means that this is my original member. I cannot put here as my gross sales and make it shade because both are at the under the same parent. So the original member and the shade member cannot be under the same parent. Getting it? So these are the conditions of the shade member. So any doubts you have?
Or it says like they should not be siblings, right?
Yeah, that is true. Under it cannot be under the same
Is it?
parent. Yeah, that is true. True.
Yeah.
Getting it?
Okay.
Yeah. So then
Can you explain the second point, Vijay?
the second point it says the original member and the shade member should be in the same dimension, correct? This is the second point. The original member and so this is my original member and this is my shade member under my accounts dimension, correct? So this is
Okay.
my accounts. I have a gross sales. I cannot create a product dimension under which I cannot put gross sales and make it a shade member.
Okay.
I
Okay.
cannot do
Okay.
that.
Got it.
Getting it?
Hmm.
Okay, right. So what I'll do is that I'll show you a real-time project where how we have used the shade member. Okay, so generally
Mm-hmm.
we would definitely come across this shade member. So in the interviews they'll ask you what is called alternate hierarchy. Okay, or they'll tell you have you ever created alternate hierarchy in your projects. Alternate hierarchy is nothing but shade members. Do not get confused when they ask you in the interview what is called alternate hierarchy. So alternate hierarchy is nothing but shade member. So he's asking about shade member. So if they ask you, have you ever worked on alternate hierarchy? Or if the interviewer they ask you, did you create any are there any shade hierarchies in your project? Say yes, we have a shade hierarchy. Shade hierarchy is nothing but shade member. Okay. So give me a couple of minutes here. I would uh, pull my project into this. Okay, I'll create one more application and I'll tell you how we have used shade member in my project. So generally we would use it in a similar fashion for most of the projects. So give me some time. I'll just put those here. Hi, Khalid, are you also there in this class?
Hello?
Not you, Vijay. It's
Yeah, yeah, tell me, sir.
Identity.
Hmm. Sir, do you have any installation document you can share with me, please? I will follow the document.
Yeah, I have it here.
Can you share me?
Yeah, I'll share it with you.
Because of it is copy that.
So I have this OTL file. Let me copy this OTL file there. Okay, so I'll create an application here. Okay, I'll create a database called PNL. PNL. So create database. Profit and loss. Okay, so when you expand this, expand your P&L, double click on the outline. So it is a blank outline. You do not have any dimensions here. So what I will do is that I'll stop this application. And I know the application gets saved in my Essbase server. So I go to C drive, Oracle, middleware, use underscore projects, EPM system 1, Essbase server, server 1, app, AMF, PNL database. Okay, so this is my outline. So what I would do is that I'll copy the OTL file, which is my metadata file from my local system, copy this and paste it here. So it is replaced. So it is replaced with 349 KB. I open my outline here. Okay, so I got my dimensions. Okay, I start my application. Okay, it is started. Double click on your outline. So this is my outline that I got. So so this is my account, period, currency, entity, years, version, scenario, brand. These are all the dimensions. So brand is my attribute dimension. If you see, this is my attribute dimension. So when you expand your accounts, so okay, if you see my period, this is my time dimension, and we have a dynamic time series which we have enabled YTD and QTD. So and you also know what is YTD and QTD. So when you expand your accounts, you have income statement. Under income statements, you have something called gross profit, under which you have all these members: operating revenue, okay, bowling revenue. So these are all my. This is my hierarchy. This is my original member, correct? These are my original hierarchy. We have also created an alternate hierarchy for my external P&L account, for my external to publish my P&L accounts to outside people. We also have something called external P&L. When you expand this, you have, okay. So if you expand this, if you see, these are all my shade members. So where are we getting the shade members from? All these members are my shade. And where do you think we are getting these members from? We are getting it from my original hierarchy, which is my in this income statement. So there are two types of internal income statement and external P&L account. For external P&L account, we have created, so we will be using something called shade members. So the original value will be getting it from internal, somewhere from here. Getting it? You're able to understand?
So they are in the same dimensions. Okay?
Yeah, same accounts dimension, accounts.
Okay.
So this is my original income statement, and we have external P&L account. For external P&L account, we have this, so we are having something called operating revenue. So operating revenue, I said it is a shade member. Okay, and shade member, we said what is the other condition that we said? Shade member cannot have children below it, correct? So this should be a level 0 member. So where is the operating revenue coming from? From my original member. And you have food cost of goods sold, beverage cost of goods sold, beer and liquor. Okay, so these are all members. These are all my shade members, which we are getting it from my original hierarchy. The no value is stored here. Okay, so we are getting it from my original hierarchy.
Okay.
Getting it? So in the real time also we would be using, we'll be having internal P&L account and external P&L account. For external P&L account, we will be using shade members. So only few of the members will be, getting it from original hierarchy and calculating my gross profit.
Okay.
Okay. In the same way, you see here, even for entity, this is my original entity and this is my all state. In this we also have shade members. Okay, in the same way, if you see my period dimension also, okay, year total, under year total I have July to June. Again you have, again we have it here. So if you see, these are all my parent level would be dynamic calc. For my dense dimension members, it is always recommended that for a parent member you tag it as dynamic calc. Okay, if you see, under quarter one I'm getting July, August, September, and July, August, September is my shade member. So this is my hierarchy, and I'm calculating my quarter one. For July, August, and September, I'm getting the values from my original hierarchy. Clear?
Yeah, got it.
Okay, yeah. So this is my entity. This is my complete all entities. Okay. Under my all entity, I have something called all entities would be here, under which I have something called all state. Under all state, I have something called Arizona. Arizona state. I'm saying only for this Arizona state, these are the members which are representing my Arizona state. Getting it? Which are all my shade members. So this is my complete hierarchy. Getting it? You're able to understand? Getting it? Any doubts you have? Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, any doubts you have? Yeah. So we would, okay, so we have our case study here. That's what we are working on. Okay, so X is case study. So client says that if you see this client, he's saying that he wants to, what did he say? He says, comparison of new and old product lines. So he wants to compare my new products as well as old products. So how do I do it? So I would create a dimension called product here. Okay, I would create a dimension called product, under which I have something called all products. Okay, under which I have, say for example, I have product A, product B, product C, product D, product E, and product F, for example. So out of this product, client is saying that he wants to analyze, okay, he wants to compare new and old, as well as old products. By seeing this hierarchy, I do not know which is a new product and which is a old product. So what I do, I create an alternate hierarchy called new products. So out of these new products, maybe D, A, and C are my new products, and these should be my shade members, correct? And I will be creating one more hierarchy called old products. So this is how I would achieve it by using a shade member. So under old products, so this is my original hierarchy where I put all my members here. So out of this, I'm differentiating what are my new products and what are my old products. Maybe A is a new product, B is a new product, and F is a new product. Okay, so when your client says give me all products, so this everything would added up and I will get the value here. The client is looking at only new products data, so this plus this would get added up here, and I would get a report for new products. If the client is good looking at, he wants to have a report of old product, so these are my old products. This 3 would added up and it will go to, the data would go to old products, and this is my shade member. Getting it? So this is how you achieve this requirement called comparison of new and old products by using a shade member. So shade member is nothing but you would get, okay, so here I'm calculating my new products. So shade member, you get the value from the original member, okay, to show the user something else, so that is the reason we use a shade member concept. The data value, we get the value from my original hierarchy. Clear? So in my project, we are creating a shade member here to calculate my external P&L accounts. We are creating all the shade members. Getting it? So that is the reason we would be using a shade member. Any doubts you have? Any doubts or any questions that you want to ask?
No, Vijay.
Okay. Okay. How about other Vijay?
Yeah, okay, sir.
Clear, no? Okay. So that is the reason. So here we are using, for accounts, we are using external P&L account. For entity, I am having my all entities here, the original hierarchy, and I'm differentiating with my states as well. So out of this, okay, I'm saying my entities are, these are called my shade members. So Arizona, these are my states under which it comes to Arizona, and these are my shade members. Clear? So that is the shade member is very important. They'll definitely ask you in the interview what is called an alternate hierarchy. Alternate hierarchy is nothing but my shade member. We would definitely have alternate hierarchies in the project. Most 95% we would be having alternate hierarchies created in the projects. That is nothing but my shade members, and you should be knowing it, how to create it, and what is the use that we, and how, you should know the definition what a shade member would do. Okay, so data shade member will not store the value. Okay, you get the value from my original hierarchy. Nothing is getting stored. So it is a pointer to your original member. So we will stop it here for today. Tomorrow we'll talk about the other two data storage properties. The other two shade member. So we'll talk about never share and label only tomorrow, and we would continue the class. Okay, so you can ask me if you have any doubts as such. Any doubts you have?
Okay, sir.
As of now.
So you should be, at this point of time, you should be able to practice yourself. If you want to take the control of my system, you can take it, or if you want to do it installation by yourself, I can also help you in installations and configuring the product, but you should have your hands on by this time.